Hey guys, what's going on? So today we're talking about using an iPhone SE in 2018. So this phone is about a year and a half old now. Apple released it mid 2016, and this phone has aged pretty well. It is using the same processor as the iPhone 6s, and that phone is still very powerful even today. When I switched from my iPhone 10 to this phone, yes, of course, I noticed the design change, but this phone is still very snappy, and I hardly notice any speed differences between the two devices. My flagship phone being over $1,000, and this phone now you can get from Apple for $350, or you can get refurbished on eBay for, I think, I saw phones, iPhone SEs on eBay for like $150 refurbished. So you can get this phone for pretty cheap, about 15% the cost of an iPhone 10. So yeah, let's see how it performs in 2018. And let's see if it is a really good value for your money if you want to buy an iPhone SE. So there are rumors that an iPhone SE version 2 will be coming out in mid-2018. So this might be a good time to get the original iPhone SE because it might be priced pretty cheap. And from what I've seen so far using it the last week, this thing is pretty stable and pretty fast. I mean, this thing shoots 4K video. It has the A9 processor, the same from the iPhone 6s. It's a very small powerhouse, and the fact that you can get this for $150, which is like the same price as some really cheap plasticky Samsung phones out there, is pretty good. So let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone SE in 2018. So the first thing we'll take a look at is the hardware. A few things I wanted to note is that this phone, well, it doesn't have the same build materials, for example, as the iPhone 6s and above. The iPhone 6s had that, I think it was 6000 or 7000 series aluminum, so it was a harder aluminum and it was built a bit better. This phone, you can see here on the back, it's a little bit scratched up. You can see there's some scratches on the Apple logo and on the aluminum. That's okay. The aluminum isn't as durable, but you know, for a phone that's this old, and for the price you can get it for now, if your refurbished model that you got for $150 has a few scratches on it, that's okay because it's still a very powerful phone. Another thing I want to mention about the hardware is that I think some of these older phones, or any iPhone when they get to a certain age, the oleophobic coating, which is the coating that tries to resist fingerprints, is starting to rub away, especially if you wear jeans and you put it in your pocket every day. The rubbing of the phone on your jean material every day is going to rub off that coating. So you can see there are some fingerprints when I reflect it in the light. That doesn't happen on my iPhone 10, but of course that's to be expected. It's an older phone. So these things that I mentioned, the small scratches on the older series of aluminum and the fingerprints on the screen, that's not a big deal for the price that you can pay to get this phone. So let's move now to software. I have this thing running the latest beta of iOS 11, iOS 11.2.5. I actually just did a video on this the other day, so you can go check that video out, see what's new in that beta. But yeah, it's running iOS 11.2.5 like a champ. It has no stutters, no hiccups, because remember, it looks like an iPhone 5s, but it has the same processor as the still powerful iPhone 6s. So let's go ahead and run some tests, run some basic performance tests. I've done a few of these videos in the past, like the iPhone 4S and the iPhone 5S. So you can really just see, using day-to-day applications and doing day-to-day stuff, how it does perform. So let's do a test like opening up the camera. You can see there it loads up pretty fast. It shows kind of a black screen for like half a second there, but that's no big deal. I think even my iPhone 10 does that while it loads pretty quickly. We can load up weather. So it loads it very quickly, a lot faster than the iPhone 4S that I tested earlier last year, and also faster than the iPhone 5S that I did a test of not too long ago. So this phone, like I said, looks like a old slow phone, but because it has that really fast processor inside, you are going to get some pretty good performance. Let's try Safari and then load a web page. So loading a web page you might think is dependent on your internet connection, but it's also dependent on the wireless chip that is inside the phone. So compared to the iPhone 5S, this phone has a much better wireless chip inside the phone. I did a speed test of my current internet where I'm supposed to be getting 150 megabytes per second down. I got on my iPhone 5S, I think 50 down, and on this phone I got 125. So if you have a modem and a router where you're supposed to be getting a certain speed, if you have an older phone, you might not be getting that speed. So loading websites, if you have fast internet, is definitely a plus if you have these newer phones with the newer wireless chips inside. So let's go ahead and open up some third-party apps and see how fast they open. Let's say YouTube here. So it loads a few UI elements, then it uses the internet to grab the other material, and it loads it pretty fast. You can see all these thumbnails are loaded. And I don't really notice a difference between this and my iPhone 10. Honestly, I could pop my SIM card in this iPhone SE, take it out of my iPhone 10 and use this no problem, because the chips in these phones aren't really that old. I mean, the iPhone 6S and the iPhone SE share this same chip from 2015, and it really does say something about Apple, how these chips that they say are so much faster than the old generation really aren't that fast, because you can see the performance of this phone is still fantastic. Let's say Twitter. So you can see there the animation comes and then it opens up Twitter pretty fast. I swear, whenever I open up Twitter on a YouTube video, there's always some sort of weird photo in my timeline. Every time, without fail, there's always a weird photo. So that's just kind of funny. Anyway, it loaded up Twitter pretty fast. It loaded, you can see the Twitter logo, then it did that quick animation. I did notice it is a little bit faster on my iPhone 10 when I open it up from a killed state. So if I try that one more time, my iPhone 10 usually goes right into that animation like half a second faster. Really, guys, that doesn't make a difference. If that half a second matters to you for an extra hundreds of dollars on top of the price of this phone, like I said, that's crazy. So $150 iPhone SE is loading all these apps and UI elements, and performance is just crazy fast on a phone this cheap. So you really can't go wrong buying an iPhone SE in 2018. And like I said, the fact that an iPhone SE version 2 is probably coming out this year is a good sign that you can get this for a pretty cheap price, and you are getting a really good performing phone. The camera, 12 megapixel, 4K, the A9 processor with the M9 Motion coprocessor. The only issues, like I said, the oleophobic coating tends to rub off on these phones, and the older aluminum alloy does seem to scratch and get dented fairly easily. But that's kind of minor when you compare it to how fast performance you're getting for the price. So guys, tell me in the comments below what phone you're using. Tell me if you're using an iPhone SE and how you like the performance of yours. Drop a like on this video. Let's see if we can hit 50 likes. That would be awesome. My name is Mike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.